My name is Erin. I am a mature age student currently studying education at the Australian Catholic University. Much of my education philosophy is shaped by my experiences both in the past, the present, and the future. I feel that it is important to reflect upon my past experiences in order to accumulate expertise in how I conduct myself as an educator. My educational journey has been shaped by distinct experiential moments, and I am a product of my context. I am of Chinese descent and was born to first-generation immigrant parents who experienced poverty, war, and famine. This shaped their ideologies on how life should be lived and how children should be raised. From a young age, I was taught to be competitive and to always do my best. There was a degree of prestige attached to academic success. However, this was under the premise that I was applying myself to things that were deemed appropriate. My first character-forming education experience was high school. After doing the selective schools test, I was accepted at a top-ranking school where I would spend the next 6 years learning, growing, and forming my own opinions. My school had a very neoliberal approach to education, stressing the importance of perseverance, which was our school motto, and the need to become well-adjusted, successful individuals, with a stress on success equating to a well-paid occupation and a degree from a notable university. The focus on academia led to a highly stressful and competitive environment which did not allow much leeway for fostering mental health. That is not to discount the merits of this method of education. Those who thrived in these environments were pushed to their fullest potential and exhibited excellent results. However, as a byproduct of this cutthroat system, there was a handful of students who favored seemingly less important subjects over subjects like arithmetic, and as such became left behind and continued to fall behind both academically and emotionally. I found myself to be a part of this group, as I felt a sense of aimlessness, lack of motivation, with little direction or self-worth. This would later become problematic for me as an adult, and I'm still currently learning to move away from determining my self-worth through my perceived success, academically, financially, and socially. I was unable to realize my potential as I was limited in pursuing what I was interested in. I believe that within this form of schooling system, there is much talent and capital lost during the process of creating these successful individuals. After completing Year 12, I moved on to university, studying a degree that my parents chose for me at a prestigious institution that was deemed appropriate. This is where the loopholes of my educational context would manifest and become problematic. I was unable to adapt to the nature of university and lacked motivation for a degree that I had no vested interest in. It would eventuate in me drawing the conclusion that I was just not suited for university and resentful of a system and practice that left no room for me, despite my attempts and efforts. After 10 years of experiencing the workforce and society and working on building character, I have now eventually returned to university education with a shifted perspective on what education means to me and how I wish to enact change as a teacher. I'm able to understand that my education process was not catered to my needs as an individual and may not have been the most conducive to my personal success. However, it served its purpose to allow me to become a functioning member of society with the appropriate skill set to participate in our political economy. I would not consider my educational process to align with the norm, given my cultural background and the philosophies that come with it. But I hope to adjust my own teaching methods to allow students to grow into dynamic individuals who strive more than just for social prestige and financial benefit. I hope that I'm able to foster a learning environment that breeds a sense of fulfillment, pride, and freedom, with a focus on the importance of individuality, perseverance, and a capacity to recognize and reflect upon one's learning, growth, and skills. I'll be presenting my philosophy of teaching statement in reference to Brielt's approach to priming the philosophic process. So what is the ultimate end or goal of schooling? I believe that the ultimate end or goal of schooling should not be entirely focused on producing individuals who are launched as capital to ensure that society is able to reproduce itself. Rather, educators should aim to produce individuals who are capable of critical thought and apply themselves to fields that they have an ongoing interest in, allowing for not only a sense of fulfillment, but an overall desire to achieve more, not for society or prestige, but for oneself. This was made apparent to me when I read Democracy of Education by John Dewey, where he states that a mere mastery of the bare necessities of subsistence will not suffice to reproduce the life of the group. Schooling provides the basic knowledge for students to utilize as tools to develop themselves further. Learning should be a lifelong process. I hope to foster students who do not require a teacher or textbooks or exams to feel confident that they are in fact learning, but rather to approach learning as a form of inquiry and to eventualize into a freedom of thought and a freedom of character. So who or what is the center of the instructional process? I had a moment of epiphany when developing my own educational philosophy when I read Nodding's Happiness as an Aim of Life and Education. She questions, must each lesson have a specific learning objective, or is it sometimes appropriate to describe what the teacher will do and leave open what the students might learn? I believe that students require instruction when being introduced to something new and unknown. However, it is important to maintain an inquisitive environment where pupils are able to learn not only from masterful guidance, but from each other without the notion of what is by definition the correct answer and wrong answer. That is to say, that a learning process should occur whereby the result is not of key focus, but rather the experience of the process. So what is the role of the learner in the educational process? I believe that the role of a learner in the educational process is simply a title. Individuals by definition are different and excel at largely different things. Whilst it is important to learn skills like numeracy and spelling, a novice speller may be a genius mathematician. This does not mean that learning does not occur when this person learns spelling. Drawing on this example, a teacher teaching this student how to spell may learn that students who excel at problem solving find it easy to remember grammar rules if they are visually presented. Likewise, the student may learn that spelling, much like mathematics, has patterns and systems that create sense amidst confusion. Rather than a linear transfer of knowledge from a master to a novice, I believe a successful educational process is one that is mutually beneficial and nurtures a mentality of growth and betterment in all parties involved. So what is the role of a teacher in the educational process? Similarly, the same example can be applied to the role of a teacher. Whilst guidance is important, there is always something to learn from the people that we are surrounded by, and educators should not close off anyone to the opportunity of exploring something new. The role of a teacher is to affect a sense of excitement and enthusiasm, to foster traits that can be utilized as life skills. I hope to become an educator that breathes life into knowledge and curriculum. So what content should be included in the curriculum? The Alice Springs Education Declaration states that all young Australians become confident and creative individuals, successful lifelong learners, and active and informed members of the community. There is specific reference to a sense of self-worth, self-awareness, and personal identity that enables them to manage their emotional, mental, cultural, spiritual, and physical well-being. I believe that aside from what is currently available in Australian schools, students should be provided with additional education on spiritual, emotional, and mental health. In an age of technology where information is transferred instantaneously, the less tangible facets of the human condition are often overlooked and paled in comparison to the expanse of facts that students are able to access. After all, students can learn definitions of words and new mathematical formulas later in life where they are required, but cannot so easily or hastily learn how to have a healthy perception of self-worth, handle uncomfortable situations, or develop a sense of faith in something transient. How should the content be learned? I believe that the content of the curriculum should be gradually taught, with consideration for cognitive development. It is important as an educator to not only teach what is appropriate for students, but also to continuously kindle a flame of inquisition that is so often extinguished by rote learning, standardized testing, and one-size-fits-all learning. Learning should be engaging for both the mind and the senses. Teachers play an integral role, often catalyzing learners to discover their unique interests and lifelong pursuits. I hope to provide an environment of learning that allows for the word content to become interests, curriculum to become process, and learners to become discoverers. What is the relationship between school and society? It is important to note that in the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child, the foremost mentioned article related to education highlights the importance of the development of a child's personality, talents, and mental and physical abilities to their fullest potential. And congruently, it states, state parties shall take legislative, administrative, social, and educational measures to ensure the implementation of the present article. I believe that ironically, school is like a pre-qualifier to well-adjusted social individuals who are participating in life. Politics have misshapen the education system to become a machine for churning able-bodied constituents driven to reproducing economy. When critically considering this approach, I reach an impasse. Whilst the current approach to education is successfully reproducing functioning society, this method is not only wasteful of talent, but also hindering society from taking larger steps forward. Without groundbreaking inquiry, we will simply be reproducing mediocrity, and with it, reproducing the same ethical, environmental, and social problems that exist now. Thank you.